Hey everybody, how you doing? I just want to make a quick video about um, some of the things that happen to a targeted individual uh, in a repetitious fashion that some people like to call delusion. And I just wanted to share a recent experience that my girlfriend and I both had that, we're both targeted individuals. And she has a degree in psychology and understands how some of this stuff works and understands that two people cannot share the exact same delusion. So if you're imagining something that's happening to you, the person next to you can't be imagining the exact same thing and noticing the exact same thing um, throughout the entire day. It's literally impossible for somebody to share the exact same delusion if they're seeing things that aren't there, seeing instances that are happening, um, noticing patterns. And so I'm just going to go through a scenario that happened to both of us. We were together the whole day and noticed the exact same things. And I just wanted to talk about that. So where were we going that day? Did we have court that day? Or?
We picked up Brea from school.
Yeah.
And we went to the grocery store.
Okay. But I was just trying to think if we had another destination after that, or it was, because usually you don't go with me in the morning to pick up.
No, it was after school and we were going to the store after that.
Okay, that's right. It was that. Okay. So it was after school. I drop my daughter off at school every day, and I go pick her up every day. This day, Kathy went with me to pick Brea up, and we needed to stop at the grocery store to get a few things. So we go to pick my daughter up, and there's I call it the normal auto mobbing street theater that we experience. You know, cars swerving in front of me, lots of red cars, lots of white cars, and they tend to park or pull up and surround you, that kind of stuff. When we get to the school, and there are two young men that go to the high school, I guess, that are identical twins. And they were wearing black and red. And they had long braids, and I mentioned, oh look, it's Millie and Vanilli. I don't know if any of you remember who Millie Vanilli was, but they were a fake band that did lip syncing. Got called out for that eventually. So we see both of those guys, and they get our attention, kind of like a lot of these people do. Doing hand signals, they'll just stare at you really weird, give you more attention than you would normally get when you're not targeted. So those two walk by, and I just noticed, because twins walk around. And people always call my daughter and her friend twins. They're in a school that there are not many Caucasian kids that go to that school, and they both have blonde hair. I don't know if Hannah has blue eyes or not, but they look really similar. A lot of people ask if they're sisters, and everybody at school says they're twins. So those guys walk by, and we just notice it. No big deal. And then we go to the grocery store, which is not even a block away from the school, and we pull in, and a car doesn't just happen to be in front of us. They're in the bank parking lot, just sitting in the parking lot waiting. Not like they had just backed out of a parking space. They weren't driving around from around the other side. They were just sitting in the parking lot. And when we started pulling in, they stepped on it, pulled right in front of me, almost hit me, and got in front of me and then slammed on the brakes. And they had a license plate that says Mimic, M-I-M-I-C. And I thought, oh, here we go. Right as that car pulls in front of us, it says Mimic. I look over to the left, and I was just showing Kathy a Facebook page of an old friend of mine that I wrote a letter to the California State Senator, character reference for him to go to officer training school to become a pilot. And he's now an F-15 pilot, so I was showing her his photos of him flying an F-15 and pictures of him and his family and stuff like that. And so, yeah, this is one of the guys who used to skate on our team and was a friend of mine. And his best friend, I won't even say his name, I guess it doesn't matter, was a really unique guy. He's a skateboarder, mountain bike rider, slash redneck. I mean, he calls himself that. I'm not calling him that. Cowboy kind of guy. Works out on the farm, lives out in the country, and really nobody dresses like this guy. Um, so right as that light, we see that license plate. I look up, and this guy is standing there looking at us, and then he pops his trunk open, and he's getting stuff out of his trunk. Well, he's the same height, the same build, and dressed exactly like my friend who I'm talking about, wearing cowboy boots, tight jeans, like Wranglers, a skateboard T-shirt, and a baseball hat, and long black curly hair goes back down to his shoulders. Pale skin, and looked exactly like my old friend, who was also on our skate team. So I said, "Oh, I guess today's Twins Day." So we pass him up. We turn left. We go to the parking lot, and in the back of the parking lot, where I usually park, because I like to park in the back, so there's not a bunch of cars to ding my doors and stuff like that, and mess my car up. And as we're pulling to the back of the parking lot, there's two yellow Mustangs backed in at the very back next to each other that look almost identical. Now, these are all identifiers to kind of let you know what's coming next, and this is how they do this. So, got the twins at the school, got the license plate that says Mimic, see somebody that looks exactly like my old friend. I mean, if I was going to pull up and see if it was actually him, the guy looked so similar. When we pull in, we see both of those yellow Mustangs backed into the parking lot. A lot of people don't back their car in. So they're sitting right next to each other. So I say to Kathy, I guess today's Twins Day. And usually when we go in the store, there's somebody, if we talk about the items that we're going to get ahead of time, there will be somebody standing wherever those items are with multiple carts in the way, acting like they're not even acting like they're doing anything. They're just standing there. Like they're not interested in picking out what item they have. They're just in the way. And they'll be standing there and wait for you to come up and say something like, "Excuse me, do you mind if I get by you? So I can get the item that I need." And that'll happen 4 or 5 times throughout the grocery store, where there's somebody just standing in the way, and then they act oblivious when you are polite and say, "Excuse me." They just stand there and stare at you. So before we're walking into the store, I'd say, "I guess today's Twins Day." And I said, "Watch. Right when we go in here, there's going to be some twins somewhere." And the first thing that we needed to get on our list was tomatoes. You walk in the store, and the produce section is right over here to the right, and that's kind of usually where we start out. Well, guess what? There's a family, mom, they had to have been brothers, and they've got an infant in the car seat inside the cart, and they are in like this rainbow formation around the entire tomato area. And they're just standing there like they've never seen a tomato before. They don't understand what to do, how to pick one out or anything. They're just, yeah, it's ridiculous. And I make my way over there, and I just said, "Excuse me," and they wouldn't move. Anybody you say "excuse me" to, they'll at least acknowledge you, or like, "Oh, can I help you?" Or, I'm just trying to get over here and look through the tomatoes, simple thing. Well, the brothers were dressed identical. They weren't identical twins, but they were very, very similar. They both had big bushy hair and wearing the same thing. And I called it. I said, "Hey, this is going to be Twins Day. We're going to walk in and see some twins." As soon as we walk in, there's the twins, all standing in front of the thing that we are needing. And so I walk between them, and I start picking out some stuff that we need, putting in the bag, and they would not move. And then when I got past them, they kind of closed their carts in around me, which is standard in this thing. They're always trying to invade your personal space when it's not necessary. They weren't trying to get to something. It was like they were just standing there hanging out, loitering in the store. And I could tell that it really bothered them, that it didn't affect me. And I had to go around them, reach over to get a bag. They wouldn't move out of the way, and I asked Kathy, what kind of tomatoes do we want? And she said, oh, we'll just get whatever. So I got what we usually get. Um, got those, put them in the bag, and I tried to leave, and they blocked me in, so I couldn't get by them. So I just moved one of their carts out of the way and went by, and it really pissed those guys off. They did not like that I touched their cart. They wouldn't acknowledge what I was saying when I was polite. Said, "Excuse me, mind if we get by here?" And then tried to block me in, so I couldn't. Who has 3 carts, 3 family members, 3 different carts, and pushes them right up around you when you're trying to get something? It's just abnormal behavior. So they wouldn't acknowledge me. They wouldn't move, so I moved one of their carts. I didn't push it out of the way. I just moved it so I could get by because they weren't responding to anything that I said. I figured they might, I don't know what the deal was. I mean, I know what the deal was, but. So we finish our shopping. We get up to the front, and the register that had the least amount of people in line is where you usually go to, right? You're not going to go to the longest line, so you have to wait longer. You're going to go to the line that's the shortest. Well, guess who's in the shortest line? That family. They had apparently figured out how to buy tomatoes by then. So we get in line, and we're minding our own business. Kathy and I are talking about, I don't know, whatever, something. And because I'm a vigilant person, I'm just kind of checking out my surroundings. And I notice the bigger one of the brothers is just standing there staring at me, leering at me. And I looked at him, and I didn't even say anything to him. I just kind of looked at him, and I didn't look down right away. I didn't, stare at the ground like, oh God, this guy's looking at me. I just looked at him back. Like, maybe this guy has something to say to me about, hey, sorry, we were in your way over there. We were just kind of confused on how to buy tomatoes. But that wasn't it. He kept looking at me, and then he blows me a kiss. And it's not like he was trying to pick up on me. He had this really evil look on his face. And he just...
And he licked his lips.
And then after he did that, he licked his lips. I'm just going to do it. But he goes... like really sleazy, like, I don't know, really gross. And I said, did you just blow me a kiss? Did you just blow me a kiss? I go, hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm flattered. I'm from California. That's not something that's new to me. I have no problem if that's the way you go, but I'm not interested. And what else did I say to him? I'm not interested. This is my girlfriend right here. I like women. And that pissed him off. I could see the rage in his face, and he was like, his hands were shaking. And then he starts doing this. Let's go outside. He wanted to go outside and go fight me in the parking lot, just because I told him nicely that I wasn't interested in his advances, and he wasn't getting to me. We were, some days I let these people get to me. Some days I just laugh it off, and I try to be like a stand-up comedian that's got hecklers, and I just try to make some jokes or talk through it. And I was doing good that day with that, and it really infuriated this guy that was what was going on. So he was motioning, let's go out to the parking lot, come on, all this stuff, trying to antagonize me. And I just said, are you threatening me right now? Are you trying to fight me? Because I'm not trying to fight you. If you want, I can call the police. And the second I said I can call the police, the guy turned around and took off out the door. The whole family went out, took off out the door. And we finished buying our groceries, and then I start to go out the door. And there's a bunch of people standing around watching. They got their cell phones out, ready to record or whatever's going on. And I asked the checkout person, what do you call them? Cashier, thank you. I asked the cashier, I said, do you see much violence in this store? Do you see people fighting in here? And she's like, no, never seen that before. I said, okay, because 2 days in a row, people tried to start a fight with me. That guy, the day before, there was an old lady, somebody looked like somebody's grandma, just trying to get by. Moved the guy's cart out of the way so the lady could get by. And the guy, he was, I don't know, 250, 260, tank top, tatted down. Most people would think he was intimidating. And then that guy followed us around the store, followed us to the front, asked me why I touched his cart, asked me if I had a problem, you know. So that was the second day in a row that somebody tried to start a fight with me at that grocery store. So we take off out the front door, and this guy that just blew the kiss at me and was licking his lips and all this stuff was standing in the parking lot near my truck with his shirt off, walking around, stomping around on the ground like he was ready to go, UFC style. And I just got my phone out, got ready to call the police, which who knows, you know, in my situation, our situation, how they would respond to that anyway. But I wanted to have my camera ready in case this guy came and attacked me or something. I could show that he was actually coming towards me and I was trying to get away. But he was just standing out there with his shirt off, just walking around the parking lot like he was ready to go. And we got in the car and we got out of there. But I guess where I was going with this whole thing is, yes, there are coincidences. But when you are targeted and you're going through this weird street theater world of skits that are designed specifically for you, this is not just a coincidence. Twins at the school, the person that pulls in front of me, and it's the way they do things too. It's not just, oh, there happened to be a license plate in front of me. There happened to be this person there. It's things in repetition that happen too many times for it to be a coincidence. So the twins at the school pull into the parking lot. The person pulls in front of me, slams on the brakes with the license plate that says Mimic. I see somebody that looks identical to an old friend of mine that I was just looking up on the internet the day before. Pull into the parking lot. We've got the two yellow Mustangs sitting next to each other. They're signaling. They're letting us know what's about to happen. And then I called it, like I said, hey, I guess today's Twins Day. When we go in the store, there's going to be a bunch of twins. We go into the store. The second we go into the store, there they are. And Kathy was surprised, like, how did you call that? You know, it's like, well, that kind of thing has been part of my targeting for so long that I can kind of see where they're going with something, and I can kind of not tell the future, but know what's going to happen next because they've done it so much and they use standard operating procedures, just like we did in the military, to do this organized stalking and harassment campaign. So I don't know how else I can explain that, but the timing and repetition and people's behavior, that's one of the main things, is people's behavior, how they act and how, they let you know what's going to be happening. And then when you don't react to their situation, you can tell it clearly affects them and upsets them. I think that guy that wanted to fight me, I don't think he was supposed to get that mad. I think that he was just upset that I wasn't falling into their little trap, their little setup. So, and this is in response to just a Facebook post. Somebody was saying that a lot of this stuff is coincidence. And I'll do another one about the auto mobbing and the different colored vehicles for sensitization, the one headlight, the one brake light, how those things happen, but they don't happen on such a large scale. And yeah, I'll make that video another time. That's all I got for now.